Hi, my name's Tin Man. I talk about a lot of things. And today I'm going to talk about everyone's favorite movie that the kids can't get enough of, Moana. And no, not the second one, because the music in that movie is absolute trash. As everybody knows, Moana is a beautiful movie meant to reflect traditional Hawaiian culture in a family friendly way that is meant to keep the kids entertained until they inevitably start singing You're Welcome at 8:30 when they really should be asleep. It follows Moana, the daughter of the village chief, on a journey to return the heart of Te to save the world. You know the plot. It's a great movie. And it was definitely 100% not a political movie. There's barely any kind of government, and the villagers have freedom to do what they want, right? Well, Moana's government is a hereditary dictatorship. Let me explain. See, there's this man called Chief Tui, who is the leader of the Motunui tribe. He's the father of the main character Moana, but he acts more like a father figure to the entire island. He's absolutely dripped out in the nicest robes in the island, and he's even got a necklace of teeth that are reserved specifically for the chief's clothing. Now, because this movie has a chief, it is tempting to label the society as a chiefdom, which it is. But being a chiefdom, which is simply a political system where a central authority rules over many communities, also means that there is one ruler who is succeeded by his next in line. This ruler has full control over the laws of the governed people and enjoys privileges that other non chief citizens don't enjoy. Now, if this is starting to sound like an autocratic monarchy, well, that's because it almost is. While generally speaking, monarchies have kings that rule over large areas of land, and Motunui is led by a chief that only controls an island, the concept is remarkably similar. Both leaders are succeeded by next in line, both leaders have absolute power, and more. There's even a little fun line where Maui calls Moana a princess simply because she has nice clothes. When you think about it, her status is the reason she dresses like that. One thus might refer to this system as an absolute monarchy, or a monarchical dictatorship. But wait, you cry, a dictatorship? Never. How could the system have passed me by? Let me go over some of the key characteristics of a dictatorship. A ruling group or individual holds absolute power without constitutional limits and often uses propaganda or censorship in order to control public opinion and maintain power. And our Polynesian hereditary dictatorship demonstrates these qualities all too well. Chapter 1: Absolute Power. In the movie, we learn that under the current government, exploration beyond the barrier reef is forbidden. We and the other islanders are told that it is dangerous. Later, when we learn the justification for Chief Tui's iron fist of rule here, when he was young he lost his friend in a tragic boating accident. When he gained power, presumably by inheriting it from his father, he put into place a law, as he calls it, that prevents individuals from leaving the reef. Now, was the death of one young teenager enough to necessitate safety laws about seafaring travel? Sure. Would anybody but a dictator or an idiot use this as justification to permanently ban seafaring travel? Absolutely not. Throughout the film, we see Tui exercising his unchecked power to order around his subjects while wearing much nicer clothes, getting people like his daughter to do exactly as he says. He's shown commanding manual laborers who, albeit eagerly, do backbreaking work for most of the days, while his royal family does the incredibly laborious task of ordering around people. He's even shown allowing his inexperienced daughter to make a decision as to where to fish when the society is presented with the very real issue of possible starvation, showing how, even when it is clearly unreasonable, the royal family controls the entire island. For whatever reason, Tui is shown to exhibit aquaphobia, or a fear for the ocean. While it's not obvious at all times, he's shown to be nervous and scared at the thought of the deep ocean that he has told himself and his people is dangerous. This irrational fear is something in common with the dictators of the real world. Stalin was an intense germaphobe. That means he's afraid of germs, and also Germans. And Napoleon had a fear of cats. It's theorized that the result of using fear and intimidation tactics to control the populace, like with propaganda, in this case, making the populace fear deep water, by dictators can result in them having fears that are similarly irrational. Granted, Napoleon didn't tell his citizens to be afraid of cats, but he certainly commanded respect and used his fair share of time. Similarly, Tui may very well have been affected by his own strategies. Regardless, it's clear that Chief Tui is the one with all the power. Chapter 2: Lack of Checks and Balances. This will be a pretty short section. As we discussed previously, Tui and his family enjoy unchecked power. However, Tui's mother, who holds opposing views to the family, is ousted socially, which we will talk later about. There really aren't any ways for the citizens of the island to repeal a law except by a violent overthrow, but on an island with a limited number of resources, this would be incredibly dangerous. Hell, there are only two pigs on the entire island, Bua and Pua, and if one of them died, then the entire food source of meat on the island is gone. Needless to say, there's no way for Tui's power to be checked. Chapter 3. Control through propaganda. Chief Tui exhibits some questionable, borderline fascist behaviors when it comes to controlling his citizens. One of his very first scenes in the movie shows Grandma Tala, which is Tui's mother, telling a group of children a traditional story of monsters and demigods. Tui is shown to butt in and dismiss this tale or opposing worldview as nothing more than a silly myth. This subtly solidifies in the minds of these young, impressionable children that Tui the chief is more wise and smart than the elder. After all these children have to do is look around. There are no monsters, and the chief makes all the rules, so he must be right. This is how the youth is indoctrinated into the lie that is Motunui. As Adolf Hitler once said, he alone who owns the youth gains the future. The becoming of Grandma Tala into a social pariah is particularly important as she is one of the last elders on the island that still remembers the past voyaging that the island had. On an island where the life expectancy is not very high, remember she dies in this movie, if she dies, it's very likely that history might die with her. Not only that, but later in the film, when it is revealed that Motunui has been struggling recently with dying crops and diminishing fishing returns, when all signs point to a growing darkness that can only be solved by adventure beyond the reef, Tui insists that there is no darkness. There are no monsters. He lashes out at his daughter for suggesting otherwise, keeping her and the island in line. As Adolf Hitler did with the claims of the Jewish people intending to rule the world, Chief Tui finds himself at odds with reality in a system that he controls so thoroughly that reality is only what he wants it to be. And with the death of Grandma Tala, there's only one thing standing in way of achieving total control over the history of the island, preventing anyone from ever knowing that another way of life existed. However, this single issue would become the downfall of Tui's well-meaning hereditary, monarchical, autocratic chiefdom dictatorship. Chapter 4. The Boats. Just a little before Grandma Tala dies, she tells Moana of the existence of a cave in which the boats of the ancestors are. This cave lets Moana see a vision that explains that her people used to be voyagers, colonizing islands far away in the name of Motunui. Although it's unclear and unimportant whether this vision was a one-time cutscene or a repeatable animation, any reasonable individual would be able to tell that the hundreds of boats were made for traveling from island to island, beyond the reef. When Moana gets out of the cave, ecstatic, she tries to tell her dad about the boats, but of course he already knew about them. Having realized that Moana has learned the one secret he wanted to stay buried, he angrily storms toward the cave, remarking that he should have burned those boats a long time ago. Well, this is interrupted by the death of his mother, which, do we think he had something to do with? I don't know. It's clear that Tui has now realized that he must do anything and everything possible to keep his narrative the one that his people believe, even and especially if that means destroying tribal history in order to rewrite the past. He has become the book-burning Führer of his entire island. Why didn't he burn the boats earlier? Perhaps he had forgotten about them. Perhaps he had started to believe his own lie, that there really never had been an extra reef travel. Or perhaps a small part of him wanted to preserve some of the old culture. We can understand wanting to keep around at least one idea or individual, even if it doesn't make sense. After all, every now and then a little victim spared. Because she smiled, because he's got freckles, because they begged. And that's how you live with yourself. That's how you slaughter millions. Thank you for watching my little rant about a kids movie that I haven't watched in 3 years. If you like this type of content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to hit 50,000 subscribers this year, and we are pretty close, so help us reach that goal. You can always change your mind afterwards, but I know you won't. After all, I'm not Chief Tui, I'm just your father.